Hello there everyone, and welcome back to Empire Total War with the Imperial Destroyer mod. Last time we had the naval battle episode. I made a special episode just about naval battles because, well, there were quite a few guys that actually wanted them, and the critics of naval battles kept quiet. So yes, we destroyed the Russian Navy, as I recall, and then we dealt with the Prussian trade navy over here that we took down. I took down most of those ships. I don't know if you actually, if I showed you the end of that, but at the after the first battle, I was only actually able to capture, I think, a single ship, or maybe it was two of them, because all the other navies actually just scattered, and I had to chase them down basically one by one until I got all of them. Collect all of them! I've got the full collection. So I got most of those. I think some sank or something. They were so damaged after a few battles that some of the enemy boats sank. But with that, so they're on the way to... I can't remember, I think they're actually already... Yes, here they are. So I've been able to... Let's see how many of them I got. So let's see, what are the trade ones? I got 6 of them. I think 10 is the normal maximum, so... well, I think that at least. Let's see. Trade Indiaman. Yes, 10 is normally the maximum. Currently, I hold 19, so I hold twice as many as you're supposed to. We'll see what kind of goods we'll send them for. But looking at the prices, it's basically splitting in between the African cargo, within situation marks, and spice trade. Also thinking about my plans on possibly invading India, but I think that would be too much. I think since I set the goal to create the Baltic as an inner sea, I'll stick to that for as much as possible. But it could be like when I play this on my own afterwards, continue this. I might go ahead and just claim this and move on into... It's a plan anyways. With that said, let's take a look at the situation on the front. So the Ottomans actually declared war on me again, I think, in between the episodes. They marched in and they attacked this place. I crushed them completely and threw them back, and then I don't want to be dragged into a war where I'm, you know, drawn into a massive enemy empire like the Ottoman Empire, and be surrounded, because at this point my armies, I do have a lot of money though, but the armies I have are kind of stretched. I guess I run into this problem a lot because I don't really recruit a lot of armies, and I specialize maybe my armies too much, so I've created an army here with, I mean, every single unit in this army is a specialized troop. One thing that I should do with this army is actually switch out the regiment of horse to the new regiment that I can recruit, which is heavy cavalry. And then maybe I should, something I should have done a long time ago, is start to disband the normal round shot cannons, because they're utterly trash and they haven't really helped me in any battle really. They don't do that much compared to the howitzers. The round shot is pretty good at certain specific locations, but as the cannons and so forth, it's not a particularly effective cannon for some reason. They've gone ahead and nerfed it. They nerfed it really hard. Now, in some sense, they should nerf it really hard, because otherwise, oftentimes the cannons are like king on the battlefield in a way that sort of makes it all about the cannons. With that said, I like this trade route that's spotted up. I don't know when it turned up, but goes in between here and what was Kurland at some point. So a little bit of a trade. I know there's a silly one that usually happens in America, which is in between, I think, these two ports. I've got it sometimes. I think it's in between these two ports, which I some playthrough with England got a trade route going like this in between two of my own ports for some reason, which seems rather silly that ships would sail all the way out here and then sail back into to sell stuff there. Seems that the British have taken back Texas, but then again the Spanish have taken back Mexico. So it's a bit back and forth here. I have speculated upon joining in and helping out the Spanish, but because of the alliances and the way they're done in Europe, where more or less everyone's allied with everyone, and if I declare war on someone, all its allies will join in against me. So everyone in Europe loves war, and they dash it out towards each other, but they for some reason really hate the aggressor. So no one more or less will sort of join you if you declare war on anyone else, but if you declare war on someone, everyone goes like, "Ah, he's a bastard, let's all pile up on him." So that's why for most part I haven't declared war on anyone during this campaign, more or less. With that said, we're at war with Prussia, and it's time to smash the Prussians, as it were. We've smashed most of our enemies. Russia is... I keep smashing Russia, but they keep remaining because, well, I don't want... usually I don't want to go that far out. But probably have to destroy them at some point, so... But that's not for this episode. This episode is about the Prussians. So what I'm thinking is that it's sort of a part goal. The thing is, what I want to do is this army... And at this point, because Poland has become 61% Protestant, so we should be able to safely leave the town with only maybe a small garrison. So I should be able to take my sort of the king's army out, smash this small army, so we have a field battle, and then siege these two places. It should go rather quickly. The thing that I'm worried about is that we have seen that there's tons of Prussian armies hiding around this region. We can see one standing over there. We know that there's been tons of them standing next to Saxony for some reason. I imagine they might have drifted over here as the French, I think, were coming through and attacking the Hanovers, the Hanoverians. So the Prussians might have drifted over here. So if I go too far, it's a bit like waking up the beast, and suddenly I've got tons of full stacks coming at me without proper response. And I would like to free this one up, but with the Ottomans at this point kind of at certain intervals going to declare war on me and attacking me, I kind of want to keep one army here in being ready. So my plan is to, well, I've been able to research to the point where I've got the reorganization procurement. That's what it is, reorganized procurements. As armies grow in size and complexity, foraging and looting rarely supports military operations for long periods. Supply must be put on a formal footing, and that will give me the army board, from going from military academy to army board, which I don't know what kind of new units it will give me. I don't think it actually gives that many until you go ahead and research light infantry doctrine, which will give me light infantry. But at that point, or during the time, I think what I'll do is we'll set up a new army. I was actually thinking about doing this with a huge garrison I have in Moscow, but we'll probably build a second army which will just act as a replenishment army for the king's army. So we'll have just a lot of normal infantry and maybe some siege equipment with mortars to bring in against forts and stuff. And the single grenadier unit I have left to recruit heavy cavalry and so forth, just to be able to back up the king's army with troops. And I would then do it in a way where we would be able to have this one sort of supplied throughout the battle. But with that said, I think everyone's on the page of where we're going. Let's go ahead and strike the Prussians, and then go ahead and siege Eastern Prussia, which have laid there. I mean, it's been so tempting because they have no garrison, like extra garrison beside the normal garrison, and it's a pretty darn nice province as well. You can see 9,000 and this one's 7,000. It's been unprotected and it's Protestant, so it would be easy to hold. So I would gain a lot of cash from that. And the thing is, they have also actually built up their ports to the point where it's commercial basins. So there's a lot of cash coming through here. So that would be really nice to take. Also, one of the, I mean, the biggest part of the Prussian trade goes to this port right here in Western Prussia. So we'll see about that. With that said, let's go ahead and have this battle. Kind of a smaller one, but at least I have some like a battle to show, rather than one of those old stupid sieges, which are not as fun. Right, let's go ahead and fight the enemy. We outnumber them 2-1, but there still might be some upsets. Who knows? And so there we are on the battlefield. The enemy has gone ahead and deployed, putting their cavalry up forward on the flanks, but most of the troops all the way back here. Let's see, they've got their mortar emplacements and so forth. We'll go ahead and advance on them. I have deployed as I usually do. We've got the infantry in one line in front. Then backing them up, I've got the grenadiers in a second line, and then in the third line here in the back we've got the foot guard. So the first one, the Queen's infantry, and then the life guard as the second unit. Cavalry on the flanks, split off between regiment of horse and hussar, going in on either side. I have at this point actually gone ahead and installed Napoleon Total War 3, the newest version, and I am going to see about doing some battles in that. And also, now when I think about it, one thing that I want to do before I end this series, or before I uninstall this mod, is I know that they have you can have Jacobite England, so I could possibly do some shorter battle series, or do 1 or 2 battles from the Jacobite War, one in which the Scottish wins and one of which where the Scottish lose. So the one that comes to mind is of course the Battle of Culloden, where the Jacobites lose. I know there's I can't remember the name, but I know there are battles where the Scottish win, as well, as they were able to march all the way to London. Now I should mention that this is I'm talking about the second Jacobite uprising, or the second Jacobite war rather, than the first one, so I think it's set for the second one, since I guess that's the more famous one, maybe? Just because of the famous Battle of Culloden. Right, so not very interesting in the Prussian army to look at it right now. It's mostly just the... I mean, one thing is that they've got a lot of units, don't they? In the 73rd. Now obviously this is all special units, but the best thing I come with is the 49th, I think. Yes, the 49th, which is the one of those German recruited regiment, the Posserska regiment. And actually, looking at this, my two German regiments, or the ones recruited in Swedish Pomerania, are the ones that are going to go first into battle, as they are marching straight towards the enemy's artillery position. What I want to do is actually probably switch the infantry a bit more so they come here in the open field, and then we'll drag them out so it's 3-man wide to increase the amount of firepower we'll be able to lay down on the enemy. And then we'll put the grenadiers right behind them. And you know, I should have looked at the thing is the different... I know that someone wanted me to show them how to install this mod, and I probably should have done something to show just the options I selected. There was a number of options that I could have selected, like limited ammo and stuff like that, but I think limited ammo would have gone against my vision of being Sweden fighting outnumbered all the time. I can imagine some of the bigger battles I probably would have lost if I'd had to put limited amount of ammo to my troops. We would have been cut to shreds. Right. I think it's time to possibly stop the cannons right about here. And then tell the infantry to continue their advance. Tell the howitzers to hold right behind there. And before the line infantry get completely shot to pieces, everyone's in position. Right, forward march. With the grenadiers close in tow. Don't forget to put toggle guard mode, and then we also don't want to forget to put the deselect fire at will, as I don't want them to shoot their friends in the back. We'll go ahead and deploy this one and this one as well. We'll go ahead and use the Karas shot, just because it looks more spectacular than the explosive shot, and it's a little bit less effective, I think. But it will look good, and that's good enough for this battle. Right. Also, not forget the cavalry, since the upset would come from the enemy being able to quickly move their cavalry into flanking position and so forth. So it's a cannon fight that started off. Cannons are firing at each other. Most of our shots seems to be missing. Some of it though seems to be landing, or at least some shrapnels are taking out some of the Prussian soldiers, or at least the cannon crew here. And as that is happening, the Prussian forces, I really like the fact that the Prussians have their captain, or whatever you want to call it, colonel of the regiment, has a spontoon. I can't remember what film it is, but it's a film about the American Civil War, I think, with Al Pacino, where I think it's Donald Sutherland. They've dressed him up to look as ugly as possible, which they did with all the Brits in that movie, which kind of looks a bit silly, like they've sort of purposely made them look super ugly. Oh, there comes the cavalry. But what I wanted to say is watching Donald Sutherland's performance with the Spontoon in the battles, in one of those battle sequences, yeah, you really want to go into battle with this spear, because he goes around there stabbing quite a few of the treacherous rebels. Right, this infantry regiment is not doing so hot, so it will move away and let the cavalry deal with its fight on its own. And I'm not going to fire with the hussars, just throw them in there. So we'll have the Poseshka moving up here to go in for a flank attack on the 67th. Right now it's just a slugfest, and to tell you the truth, the Prussians are actually winning the slugfest. As we can see, the Dala regiment in the center has lost about half its men, which means that my plan didn't go too well. I'm gonna take these two and tell them to fall back. The enemy will probably advance with that, and as they do, they will come into the range of the grenadiers, which are moving in. So, right, cavalry has been able to send off the enemy on this side. Ooh, what's this? Right, the hussars will continue over here and will harass the enemy, while the regiment of horse will deal with the enemy dragoons. Right, the enemy, seeing their victory in the center, is starting to advance, but for some reason the goddamned grenadiers bloody well won't fire. Hussars will advance in the flank and fire upon the Prussians. I guess I underestimated the Prussians a bit. They are a lot tougher than my previous enemies. But we can see that our sustained fire has proven to be... Oh shit, we've got the dragoons there firing in at us. Most of the Prussians at this point, you know what? I think this regiment might actually need some aid, so we're gonna go ahead and help them. At this point, it seems as though that we are winning, but it kind of took a heavy toll on my army. So I probably should have been a little bit more dynamic, to say the least, in my attack. You know what? Cavalry will continue and deal damage to that one. We'll have these two grenadier units cutting through and firing on that one over there. This one's following whoever it attacked, so let's have these three continue the advance upon the enemy. Cavalry is doing fine over there, I think. We've got the hussars slowly advancing, firing upon the enemy dragoons. Not doing too well in this fight. Slowly losing this fight, actually. And so instead what we'll do is tell the hussars to shit, they're really taking quite a beating. Focus in on the cavalry, not the cavalry unit, the cannon unit over here, destroy that, and hopefully get the cannons, our cannons that is, to focus on something different. Right. Oh, my cavalry unit was actually defeated attacking these Prussians. But then again, they moved out of a fight and came on these guys head on. I think, though, my hussars, coming in from the flank, should be able to beat them. And then with the aid of this regiment, and these two regiments, should probably be able to deal with what's left of the enemy over here. German versus Germans. A Poseshka regimented has broken the enemy. Something is firing. Oh, I thought it was they were firing from a concealed position, but it was only a small unit of cannon crew that was still alive. And it's charging straight into the grenadiers. And they actually cut... Oh no, they didn't actually cut down the guy with the flag. I thought they actually cut him down. I guess they're shooting at the unit far further away rather than shooting at that one guy. Unfortunately, that's what they did, and they killed the bastard. Right. And so the Prussians were defeated, but kind of a heavy cost. What unit of my... Oh yes, there was one cavalry unit that was sent away. And there were quite high casualties among the units, but this mod is of course kind of a high casualty mod, given the fact, as I've explained in a previous video, that bullets will at certain ranges actually go through multiple soldiers. So close range volleys are very devastating, most so in my campaign for Norway, where, I mean, they were just like right in front of a regiment when they unleashed their volley, and it completely annihilated that regiment. I'm still kind of very impressed with myself over how I conquered Norway, or how I did so well in that campaign with so few men, although it was a superior amount, not amount of troops, but superior quality of troops. With that said, let's go on to siege Königsberg, shall we? And here we'll look at the results of the battle. We lost 1,300 men out of an army of 4,000, so about 25%, while the enemy lost almost all of it, leaving only 600 men left standing. Highest kills comes from the Österbottens Regiment, or Österbottens Regiment, and then the Posserska is second. We've got Grenadiers. Regiment of Horse did very well in this battle compared to, or I guess maybe it's because everyone else did kind of poorly looking at the kills here. So most of the kills came down to just a few regiments, and then as we go down, look at the kills on the howitzers. So I guess that kind of shot is not very effective at all, as it killed a total of 17 people for 4 cannons. To the point where even the 12-pounder cannons did better. But there we pushed away the Prussians, and we should be able to... we can't even reach it. The town, though, is safe, and there's no risk of it actually going ahead and revolting. I'm gonna go ahead and recruit 2 heavy cavalries to replace my normal cavalries, and then we're gonna have some garrison. And we'll start to march. Well, I need to replenish my troops, and then we'll start to march towards our point of attack. And let's go ahead and end turn, so that we can actually fulfill our plan to attack the enemy. And there we have it, the end turn. I've recruited a lot of troops, seemingly a bit all over the place. I didn't know that I've recruited this many troops in this many locations. So I recruited some extra troops in Kurland, some in Denmark, some in Poland, quite a few in Poland. But the Polish one we knew about, but then Finland, a militia in Iceland. I guess this was due to the fact that... we built an inn. Yes, I switched out one of the schools, one of the universities, for a tavern. It basically was a tavern anyways, I'd imagine, with all the universities drinking and so forth. So it didn't change that much, but I wanted to reduce the clamor of reform a bit to the point where I could actually tax this region, because it is a rather good province. Intellectual advance, government by consent. So we're advancing through these technologies, separation of power and so forth, going towards kind of constitutional democracy. One thing that I have noticed, which I think is specific for the mod, is that the dislike for the government type keeps increasing. So in Stockholm it's 14, which is quite high, I'd say. It seems to increase. Let's see if I can find a province where it actually is increasing. I can't see one though, but it is increasing for me for some reason. It might be something to do with the bigger the kingdom, the bigger the problem. Well, the Prussian army went ahead and burnt down the church with a small remaining army there. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take these 2 cavalry regiments. I'm gonna send them back, and then we're gonna replace them with the 2 new heavy cavalry regiments. Not that it's a major difference for us, since we're going to go ahead and siege this place, but I think they will do a lot of difference on the actual battlefield. And I mean, this is even an auto-resolve, I think. Is it not? Königsberg, yes it is. Let's go ahead and auto-resolve this. I hope I don't lose a unit. We only lost 400 men, and we destroyed the enemy completely. 1 unit, which was the European bodyguard, lost a single soldier. So very nicely done. We took that province. And yes. This one will... I think we've got a pretty good chance of holding on to this one, or pushing on to the next place, because we've got a pleasure garden. And it is already Protestant. And it's a big region, so it has a grand opera house. So with just a very small garrison, so maybe recruiting some extra troops, maybe a few more troops here in Poland. And then we can send, I think we can send line infantry. Yes, we can send line infantry over, and then they can help out. Need to deal with this army, but that's an auto-resolve. I just need kind of a bigger force to send against them. Not this one though, probably the remainder of what I get from Poland. We don't really got any more moves here. I don't have enough to pass on towards Western Prussia. What we do have is the trade navy. So we really just split this off into 3 ships going towards Indonesia, and 3 ships going to Africa, and we'll just, I guess we split this one as well to go ahead and follow them to their destination. Because, well, even though I don't think it's going to happen, but there could be a Prussian ship hiding somewhere. We'll head off to Indonesia, and this one will head off to Africa. And with that done, let's once more go ahead and end turn, take Western Prussia, and with that I think we'll end the episode. And then what I'll do is I'll build up in between episodes for the next one to have a grand battle of Brandenburg, which could possibly be the last video of this series. With that said, let's go ahead and end turn and see what the enemy is up to. Okay, so in between here we've got France actually asking for alliance. Elizabeth I of France is asking for a military alliance, and they demand some money. Sure, why not? We will agree to this, as they are a terrifying power, and I'm only mighty. I'm wealthy, rich, while they are spectacularly rich. And it also has a kind of a historical background as well, because a large part of why Sweden was able to continue fighting through the Great Northern War for a long time was the patronage of France. I mean, at some point England goes ahead and even blockades our trade, and we're very reliant on payments from France to actually continue fighting. So it kind of makes sense that we would be allied with the French, even though the French are Catholic and the Swedish are Protestant. But then again, that kind of weird alliance thing in between Sweden and France has been around all the way since Gustav Adolphus was fighting. Apparently it's so that France hates the Germans more than they hate the Protestants. So they're willing to side with Sweden just to stuff it to the Germans. With that said, let's see if we can go ahead and run this through and get back to our movements through the turn. Right, and then we're back to our turn. The Prussians have gone ahead and raided some farmland, as they probably were hungry. As we can see, winter is setting on. Recruits in Poland ready to take them on. Metal roads in Denmark. A fleet arrives at its destination. Ah yes, I sent this navy off to check the edges to see if there possibly were some other trade navies hiding. Possibly down in this region then, as I would have possibly already checked this area. We've got a really tiny one here with 2 trade ships by the... who is it? The Persians? Yes, the Persians. They're making a bit of money though from... I don't know what kind of cash crop they're doing in the Amazons, but it's probably quite nice. With that, we've taken this. Public order is 3. Let's move out and see how... It's only 1 minus. That's nothing. Right, I'll transfer 3 regiments. And that should be sufficient to hold that down. And then we have sufficient enough to send some extra troops to deal with this. And also, this army can continue forwards, attack Western Prussia, and slay that fortification as well. 700 men were taken down, and Bob's, your uncle, we're on our way to realizing Swedish destiny to rule the Baltic Sea as an inner sea. Very nicely done. So I think that's that for this episode. Next one, we'll see if we can find out where the Prussians are storing their army. Where is their army actually? Is that all it is? Two stacks? That can't be all. But I guess that's dangerous enough, as it is Prussians. They are very skilled compared to the other factions we've fought up until this point. So next battle we're looking at is the Battle of Berlin, which, given that, well, unless I want to include this little part of the Baltic Sea as well, then technically I'll have to go against the Hessians as well. No, the Hanoverians, I mean. The Hessians are somewhere else down here somewhere. Yes. But, I mean, more or less, I will have the Baltic Sea. Except for this little part right here. This little tiny border gore. I'll buy this area from them. There probably doesn't live anyone here. It's just absolute shit. Who even wants this? And look at how it is anyways. The border starts, so they actually hold on the both sides of this river. But then it goes just like this weird long bit out here, and then... What is this? Why isn't this either belonging to the Berlin region or to the Danish region, but goes to the Hanoverians to have this weird bit here? which is really strange, I think. With that said, I think we'll go ahead and end the episode right here. It's not a spectacular episode, but yeah. Right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it anyways, and hopefully I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye.